Number one DM I get from you guys is like, how do I get my friend out of this toxic relationship? Like, how do I get my friend away from this fucking loser? Here is my honest advice. You don't. I'm gonna tell you how long it took me to learn that, like, you cannot force somebody to love themselves. You cannot force somebody to walk away from a situation that is so fucking terrible for them. Like, they have to learn that on their own. I can tell you your boyfriend's whack is fucking weird as shit and he's treating you horribly, but you're not gonna leave until you're ready to leave. I'm gonna show you guys two situations where I had two friends that I've dealt with this. Friend number one, she was with this toxic ass motherfucker. He just, like, they weren't good for each other. They weren't gonna be anything serious. It was like a whack ass situation. She loved that man. She was gonna try all that she could. And if that meant losing herself in the process, she was going to do that. And number two, same situation kind of thing, but this was an even bigger asshole. He was cheating. He was lying. He was the worst of the worst. He's everyone you pray your friend never fucking meets. With friend number one, I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna meet her where she's at. My therapist did this to me, and I was like, I'm gonna do the same exact thing to her. I'm gonna meet her where she's at. If she's in love with that man, yup, we're in love with him. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna try this one more time. I decided I was gonna see it through with her. Friend number two, I was vocal. I was like, you're dating the wackest motherfucker ever. Like, you're dating a horrible fucking person. I was so vocal. Hey, you should leave this person. You shouldn't be with this person. You really should get out of this. It's a toxic situation. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to shake friend number one and, like, punch her in the head and be like, we worked so hard for you to go back to this motherfucker. Are we dead ass serious right now? But I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna meet her where she's at. That's what she needs from a friend right now. I'm not gonna judge her. I'm not gonna do any of these things. Mind you, friend number two happened way before friend number one, but I was like, I'm just gonna meet friend number one where she's at. I always was the girl that was like, leave your loser ex, like, do all those things. And I was trying so hard to make my friends see, like, hey, get the fuck away from these losers. And I was vocal. You're dating a loser. You're dating a loser. They're not going to listen until they're ready to listen. Flash forward, friend number one has now since left that man. She was like, you know what? I deserve better. I love myself too much. Like, everything I wanted her to realize, and I could have screamed it from the fucking rooftops, but she wasn't ready to hear it at that time. But she ended up leaving that man. She was like, I deserve better. I want more for myself. I really do. Friend number two is still sneaking around with that whack ass motherfucker, and she thinks nobody knows. We all know. Friend number two will not let that man go, and that man continues to do horrible, shitty fucking things to her, and she will not let him go. I've had to learn, hey, I just have to fucking accept that. I can't make somebody love themselves. I can't make somebody walk away from a toxic situation. If you're gonna continuously let that ruin your life and you're wondering why things are not working out for you, I don't know. Look at who the fuck you're dating. Like, why would the universe ever reward you for anything good in your life when you're with a whack-ass motherfucker who treats you like shit? If you don't love yourself, why the fuck would, like, the universe love you? Back to friend number one. She's thriving. She's living her best life. It was like the best thing she could have ever done, walk away from that man. She thought she'd never be able to do that. No, now that man is, like, obsessed with her and in love with her, and she could give a fuck. Hi. What I'm trying to make here is, like, you can't tell anybody what to do. You can't force anybody what you want them to do either. Like I said, you can't force someone to love themselves. You can't force someone to walk away from a shitty situation that you know is only going to get worse and worse. But you can pray to the fucking gods that they do. Difference between friend one and friend two was the simple fact that friend one loved herself enough to walk away from a situation that was really fucking difficult for her to walk away from, okay? Friend number two has not had that realization yet. What I realized the most with friend number two is, like, the more that you preach to someone to get away from something, and the more you're like, you really need to get out of this, and they choose not to, you, in yourself, you just grow resentment towards them. You're like, well, why are they being a dumb fucking bitch? And, like, at the end of the day, like, it's not your lesson to learn or your life to live. So it's like, you can't invest so much of yourself in these situations. Like, your friend is going to have to go through that toxic relationship. If it takes them a year or 2 years or 7 or 10 years to get out of it, you have to just sit through that. I highly recommend meeting them where they're at. I genuinely think it helps them get out of the situation quicker, because then they have someone that they can talk to about all these things. Yeah, it's fucking annoying. At the end of the day, she's going to make it through this. And so, like, that's really all you can do is, like, be there for them.
Am I the asshole for going on a hiking trip with my pregnant wife? Over the weekend, my wife and I went on a hiking trip with some of my friends. We've always been active people, but it kind of seems like my wife, who's 6 months pregnant, has turned into a couch potato in recent weeks. It's caused her to gain a bit of weight and become moody, so I figured some exercise would be good for her and me.
This feels like a joke. Like, have you ever heard of pregnancy?
She seems a little moody. Yeah, you try strapping a watermelon
She seems
to your
a little
body.
tired, moody, and is gaining weight. Could she be pregnant?
Shocker. Well, I thought I picked a pretty easy hike. It's a trail that's close to our house and not that long, about 3 miles out and back, but it can be a bit steep in places. She's done it before, so it couldn't have been too much of a surprise. Well, we were about 1/3 of the way done when my wife started huffing and puffing. My friend slowed down to accommodate her, so I decided to slow down too. After half a mile of huffing and puffing, my wife looked pretty bad. She got really pale and was hunched over on the side of the trail. I was sort of shocked to see her in this state. She had let herself go recently, but I didn't think she would lose her fitness this quickly. However, a few minutes later, she actually started to throw up, and it was at this point that we all decided to head back.
He knows she's pregnant, right? Right? He does know she's pregnant?
It feels fake. It feels so
She
wild.
let herself go? What are you talking about? She's making a baby.
I'm fully aware that she's going to deliver a baby in 3 months.
Thank you.
But I can't help but think that she wouldn't have embarrassed me in front of my friends if she had kept up with her exercise routine. We both ate the same food at breakfast, and I never got sick, so that couldn't be it either. We got back to the parking lot, and I apologized for my wife's behavior to my friends. I thought I was out of earshot, but apparently my wife heard the whole thing. When I got back to the car, she went nuts. She told me that I was an idiot for thinking she could keep up at our normal pace, and that I was a grade A asshole for insinuating that my wife had thrown up on purpose. I listened to her rant at me before politely asking if she thought she would have felt so sick if she hadn't been a couch potato recently. But she refused to engage with me at all. I wanted it to dawn on her that she was at least partially to blame for this, but she refused to take any responsibility. This happened on Saturday, and even today has been really tense. It's as if she's holding a grudge against me, and I don't know how to get her to stop. She's making me really sad with this horrible treatment. Am I the asshole?
Straight to jail.
We don't like to overuse this word, but he is a narcissist. I mean, full blown. Like, this is one of the main things we talked about on our episode this week with Dr. Ramani about someone else's struggle being your inconvenience. Like, to not be able to even understand what she must be dealing with, that it's just like a problem for him. It's like top level narcissism.
Wow.
And I really feel for her to be having a kid with this person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me reframe this for this guy. This woman has probably been hearing from her husband for a while. I think you've kind of overly let yourself go. We're not doing as much activity. And so she says, I'm going to try to do this for you to make you happy, to maybe get myself back in shape. She did this for him. It certainly wasn't for her. Nobody that's 6 months pregnant wants to take a 3 mile hike. So what a pleasure to be married to somebody. What an honor to have a partner that wants to do that for you.
Does he not have any women in his life? Does he have a mom, like a woman friend, like anybody that's been pregnant? Like, some women have such struggles. Like, the fact that she is even agreeing to this at 6 months means she's like pretty healthy in her pregnancy. It's just crazy. I'm not expecting a man to understand everything about a woman's pregnancy and body, but enough to be like, this is a huge deal.
Yes. And if I'm
So
making
disgusting.
a baby and I'm sick all the time and I'm swollen and I'm gaining weight, all I want from my partner is to remind me how beautiful I am all the time, how important I am to them. Like, you have lost control of everything your body used to be. And all I want to do is be reminded of how great I am and how thankful you are and how beautiful I am.
It's such a vulnerable state. I mean, I feel like this guy is on a different planet, and I think you both are very spot on with this. To find yourself inconvenienced by her pregnancy, like, what did you expect? But all it takes is a quick Google search. What does a woman's body look like at 6 months? Because where the fuck is her diaphragm supposed to fit?
Right.
She's huffing and puffing.
It's insane.
I huff and puff walking up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
She's 6 months pregnant doing a 3 mile hike.
I know, this morning coming back from getting coffee voice noting, I started to get a little short of breath.
I parked up the hill next to your studio. I'm not even looking forward to going back to my car.
Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister her wedding dress because she didn't invite my underaged son? I, 40 male, have a sister, 30 female, who is getting married in a week. The groom proposed to her a year ago at a family dinner that left everyone speechless but very happy for them as their longtime companions. During this dinner, my sister asked my son, 17 male, to make her wedding dress. My son has always loved design and fashion. He took technical courses in these areas and sewing, and even his friends keep asking him for clothes because they are so beautiful. He agreed but said that he needed time and that he would need her opinion constantly. At first, my sister was very annoying. My son drew about 50 dress designs in a month, and she only liked one, which he continued with. He sewed it with great quality fabric, which I paid for, as I wanted to get involved in a certain way. For 5 months, he made several adjustments to suit her wishes, as she was always complaining about something. After a while, he arrived at the final model, and it was just amazing. My mother cried seeing my sister in the dress, and I confess that I almost got emotional too. The problem was that last week my son came to talk to me about the wedding invitation that had not arrived for him, but for other family members. I thought maybe he didn't need one, but it still felt weird. I messaged my sister raising the issue, and she replied that she didn't want any underage people at her wedding because there would be alcohol. I asked her if she was going to make an exception for my son, but she cut me off and said no. There are no children in our family. My son is the only minor, so I didn't see any sense in this rule for family members. And to make matters worse, my son was very sad and cried because he spent months on this dress and couldn't go to the wedding. I was very upset and told my sister that she should look for another dress as soon as possible, as she would no longer wear the one my son made. Yeah, oof. This is rough all around. I don't know what to say. That's so wrong. It's so unfair for her to ask him to make her a wedding dress that he spent so much time on at 17 years old, and then not have told him in the first place, like, by the way, love you, but you can't come to the wedding because you're underage. Whatever, you can have whatever rule you want, but you gotta, like, disclose that before having your nephew spend so much time working on something for you. But also, like, kind of not cool to, like, last second be like, well, go find a wedding dress then. Not cool. I don't know. Understandable, though. She called and yelled at me saying I was being unreasonable and that I couldn't do this. My mother called me saying that I should deliver the dress and follow the rules, but I didn't, and I hung up on her. Because of this, the family is divided. Many agree with me and condemn my sister's actions, saying she should only make an exception, but another part says I'm unreasonable and I'm spoiling her big day. I don't think I'm being wrong, but just rational and paying her back in kind. So, am I the a-hole?
Am I the asshole for not attending my sister's wedding since my husband is not invited? Let me start by saying I do understand my husband's behavior is inappropriate, but like all of us, he's not perfect, and I took vows to stand by him and accept him as a whole person, including his flaws. Overall, he's a good husband, and I love him despite this one issue. So my husband has a kink for urinating on his stuff in public. I think it's the humiliation aspect that gets him off. So sometimes, but not every time we get together with my family, he will pee his pants. But overall, it's really not that disruptive. How is it not? He just stands up and says something like, oh no, I've peed myself, then goes to the bathroom and changes. I always bring a change of pants and underwear for him in case this happens, and when he gets back we just move on and don't talk about it. So you're enabling this? He wouldn't be invited to none of my get-togethers either. Of course, we don't want people to know my husband is doing this for a kink, so we've told our family he has a medical condition that causes him to not have full control over his bladder. I told him the reason he doesn't wear adult diapers is because he's ashamed of needing diapers at his age, so he's basically in denial that he needs them and refuses to wear them. Well then, nigga, you're not getting invited anywhere. The fuck? Well, now my sister is getting married and she says my husband can't come because she doesn't want him disrupting the wedding by peeing his pants. I told her it's unfair to exclude him over a medical condition he can't help, which is true as far as she knows, but she said it's his own choice to refuse to wear adult diapers, so it's his fault. I told her it's her wedding and she can invite who she wants, but if my husband isn't invited, I'm not coming. He loves my family and I know it really hurts him to be excluded from the wedding just because of a kink he can't help having. He's been crying and saying he feels disgusting, which he is, for having this kink that he can't control himself, and now my family doesn't even want him around. I know it would really hurt him if I just left him home and went to the wedding by myself. He told me it's my choice if I want to go and that he won't be mad, but I know he will be really sad if I went. This motherfucker needs to go to therapy. I love my sister and family, but my husband is my life partner, so he's always my number one priority above anyone else, and I believe I should stand by him and support him rather than choosing my own family over him. So I told my sister I won't be making it to the wedding, and now she's extremely angry with me, saying that I'm a bad sister because I won't be there to support her. She's marrying a woman, so she said it also makes me look homophobic if I don't show up and support their union. I told her I'd love to come if my husband was invited, but she said she can't stand the thought of him disrupting the ceremony or the reception by peeing his pants and announcing it. I told her how much it hurts my husband that he's excluded, and she doesn't care. I said fine, but that means I can't come, but she won't let it go, and she keeps starting fights saying I'm a bad sister. I do feel bad that it hurts her, but I won't be there.
Would I be the a-hole if I didn't let my daughter, 15 female, go to Orlando even though she paid for it? My daughter Ella is 15. When she started high school last year, we were told that the band would be going on a field trip to Orlando. Of course, the trip was expensive. Since Ella is growing up, my husband and I decided that if she wanted to go, she would have to pay half of the cost. Ella agreed, and she started spending weekends or teacher work days on holidays babysitting her siblings, 5 male, 9 female, for $22 an hour. Dang, that's a good price there. Either my husband or I would stay home and make sure everything was all right, and if there were times that both of us had to be out of the house, we'd make sure to ask our neighbors to keep an eye out and pay Ella $25 an hour. We were never gone for more than 2 hours. With babysitting, some family members graciously provided her with money to help her out, cleaning, and some money she already had saved as well. Ella was able to make a good amount of money, which we were so proud of her for, and made sure to voice this to her. Ella was able to make enough money quickly, so we were planning to sign her up for the trip. But earlier this week, I was informed that Ella had been mistreating a girl in her grade for having a mental illness, writing awful notes and putting them in the girl's bag, spreading disgusting and derogatory rumors, posting things about her online. It's a whole mess, and when I was called in, I could barely even listen the moment after I was told my daughter was bullying someone. I thought I had raised her right, told her to treat everyone with respect and kindness. I've never seen any sort of signs or behavior that would ever indicate Ella even thought badly about others, and now after 15 years, I'm told she has fat-shamed a little 14-year-old girl. Her excuse being that someone with an illness shouldn't be allowed to get a higher test score than her. I don't understand how those correlate, but that is like one of my biggest fears about having kids is like you can do your best to raise them with your values, and they're still their own people. So you might be a parent of a little bully. And what do you do then? I guess you don't let them go on the trip to Orlando. Ella was given a suspension, but it's very short. The school's motto is that they don't tolerate bullying at all, yet it feels as if she was only given a slap on the wrist and told not to do it again. It also feels wrong that I'm saying this, but I do think that there should be more done. The girl Ella had been bullying is also in the band, and I'm pretty sure she will be going to Orlando. Would it be wrong if I didn't allow Ella to go on the trip? She paid for half of the trip, but I don't think she deserves to go. I can't think of any other ways to punish her. She loves to read and isn't on her phone often. She has a good amount of friends, but doesn't hang out with them often. What am I supposed to do? Take away her books and make her hang out with her friends more? Yeah, I think the trip is a good lesson, but my husband and a good friend of mine don't agree with the decision. The reasoning being that Ella worked for that money. I understand what they mean, which is why, of course, I'll let Ella keep what she earned, just not let her go on the trip. I think that's really fair. Personally, I think that that's a good move. And additionally, I would try to get her into therapy or figure out what's going on with her, because obviously there's something bigger going on. I don't think people are cruel by nature. There's obviously some stuff going on with her and probably happening in the family. I don't want that girl to have the possibility of being bullied again. Would I be the a-hole?
Am I the asshole for leaving a date early because she didn't tell me she was pregnant?
Oh.
For context, we had been talking for about 2 weeks. We met for dinner, and when she showed up, she was about 6 months pregnant. I asked, and she said she didn't think it was worth mentioning. I said I wasn't interested in having kids or raising someone else's child. I paid for my drink, and then I left. Edit to answer a few questions I'm seeing. My profile said I don't want kids. Hers said open to kids, but didn't say anything about having a kid / being pregnant. Both of our dating intentions was set to long term. This happened on Sunday, but I got a text from her on Monday that said I had been really rude by leaving early, so I thought I would get others' opinions.
Oh, Queen. She should have told them.
Oh my God.
Especially with these are dating apps that have preferences on it. He says not wanting kids.
Yeah. It's too late.
Oh my God. And there's no
you.
hiding it, girl. There's no hiding it. Does she think a first date he's going to look at her and change his mind? Not on a first date.
I am blown away by the confidence, the audacity. I don't even know, the delusion maybe to show up 6 months pregnant, not telling someone.
It's a bold move.
And bold strategy.
She deserves love.
Absolutely.
She deserves a partner who is going to help raise that child. But take some context clues before you go on the date and see, oh, this guy doesn't want kids. Maybe I'm not going to be the one for him.
You can't blind somebody like that.
And also, I actually really think he did the right move by leaving. I think that's actually the most respect he could have for her. I think he's saying, I respect both of our time too much to waste it here on a date that this is clearly not going to work out. It would be so much better than having a full date and then maybe expecting something else to come from it and then hearing he's cutting it off as soon as he knows it's not right. And a lot of people don't do that.
No, and I think he's so entitled to doing that because your whole relationship then is started on a lie. There's no honesty. How do you trust this person going forward if they didn't share such a key detail about themselves before your first date?
Key detail. A big one. a big one that's impossible, in fact, to ignore, perhaps.
Yeah, well, and if you continue this relationship 3 months from now, your dynamic totally changes.
Only 3. And you're in a relationship for 3 months, and now you were kind of co-parenting. Maybe you're not expected to, but like...
It's a different dynamic for sure.
The woman has a newborn.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there?
I put vegetables in my food to stop my roommate's kid from eating it. Mom threatens legal action. I, 26 female, lived in a rented house with a single mother, 30 female, and her son, 6 male. I had another person living with me, but they moved out and the mother moved in. I don't mind living with her and her kid. It's fine and we kind of do our own thing. I spend a lot of time at my boyfriend's house or working. Our work schedules collide, so we really don't interact much. But when we do, it's fine. No issue there. I want to start with saying she clearly struggles financially, but I don't think it's an excuse. I don't make lots of money either. However, I noticed that my food would go missing or portions would be taken from it. I assumed it was her kid, so I asked her if she'd stop him from eating my food. I was calm about it and she said she would. It didn't really upset me when it first started. It started getting annoying when I'd get home from work and expect to have a meal's worth of leftovers in the fridge, only to see it picked through or just gone. I kept bringing it up and she started getting annoyed with me bringing it up. Just from observing them, I realized that neither of them ever eat vegetables, and judging by the food that would get picked through and the food that would be untouched. Anything with green in it was avoided. Orange chicken could be gone, but chicken and broccoli would be untouched. So I started putting vegetables in everything. I find vegetables to be so delicious. And anything green or not a potato does not get eaten. So I can mix some bell peppers into the food and it would be fine. I make a big portion of vegetables pretty frequently anyway, so I just started putting it in everything I eat. If I had leftover mashed potatoes, I'd pour green beans in it and mix it up. If I had leftover cheesy bacon fries, I'd pour broccoli all over it and mix it in. Usually my homemade stuff has vegetables in it, but I started making sure everything I did. I made a pot of mac and cheese, the kids' favorite thing, and poured in roasted Brussels sprouts.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Which is actually delicious to me, and I'm eating more vegetables, so it's a win-win.
Maddie, you were...
She had been seeming annoyed, but we were all home when I made the pot of mac and cheese. She was in the living room and saw me get out the Brussels sprouts and was like, "What are you going to do with that?" And I poured them in. She said I was being greedy and annoying. I just said, "I like Brussels sprouts," and that was it. She said, "We need food," and I told her to go get some, or stop buying only prepackaged things and your money will go further. I think she sees it as some big act of revenge, but I simply want to be able to eat my food. I also want to add that the sharing is not the issue. It's expecting to have food there, and it's not. So often I'd be working a long day and get home expecting to have a meal's worth of food, and it's all gone. Mm-hmm. Or I wake up in a rush and have my food ready to eat in the morning only to find it gone. So now I have to skip breakfast. If she would simply text sometimes, "Hey, is it okay if we eat food item?" I would know and know to make other plans. I would stop for food or know I have to whip something up when I get home. Also, I think eating the last of someone else's food is crazy and rude. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if someone makes a big pot of something and you ask for a serving, sure. But if someone made something and there's one serving left, you eat it without permission, that is evil as hell. Update. So I've been steadfast with putting vegetables in everything. I put vegetables in things I've never even thought of. This is carried on and the mom calls me a jerk, but will not verbalize that she's eating my food. She just sees me making a lasagna and adding celery and bell peppers in the layers of...
Oh, wow.
She just sees me making lasagna and adding celery and bell peppers in the layers and fumes off to the side. The only thing I can't add vegetables to is snacks like chips or if I bake brownies or cookies. However, this is easily remedied by putting baked goods in a Tupperware and keeping them in my room. Same with chips. As I previously stated, the sharing is not the issue. Recently, the kid knocked on my door and asked if he would have a bag of microwave popcorn. I said yes and gave him one. All of this would be way less annoying if she just texts, "Hey, can I have some of this?" and waited for my response before just helping herself. I do feel for the mom because she clearly struggles with cooking and trying new foods. She is older than me and winces at the thought of biting into anything green. And it's spreading to her kid, but it's no excuse. A few days I was making taco meat out of ground beef, and like usual, she was looking without looking. She was off to the side, watching my every move, but trying to look normal. I made a dish the day before that involved sauteed mushrooms and cut up peppers. So when the meat was Almost ready, I opened the fridge and she freaked when she saw me holding the mushrooms. She said, "Son's name hates mushrooms." And I just poured them in the pan and mixed along with the cut up peppers. This caused her to react in a way I'd never seen from her before. She was yelling and stomping through the kitchen while the kid just watched. Felt bad for the kid to have to see his mom like that. People were worried about her tampering with my food. I don't think she's the kind to do that, but if she did, I would report that right away. She was flipping out, but she didn't snatch my food or knock anything over. She was opening and slamming cabinets, and it was all very silly. Then she started going off about how she was going to get the authorities involved. I just told her, sure, and she needs to relax. She seemed genuinely upset and stressed, and I told her that I understand being a single mom is hard, but she needs to use her government assistance more responsibly. She'll come home with cold mac and cheese, sushi, and chicken from the grocery store, prepared foods, and blow all of it on that. I suggested food pantries and buying ingredients that last a while, like potatoes. She said I was being condescending and I always have food to eat. This is to address the just make a portion of your food and set it aside for her and the kid. I do not make enough money to regularly feed 2 other people. If every now and then she asks some of my leftovers, sure. But if this is a consistent thing that was happening, it's not as simple as giving her leftovers that I won't eat anyway. If I make a pot of something, I expect to live off of that for the next few days. If it is eaten, then my money is messed up and I have to go shopping again and budget for more food. Waste my time and money.
Am I the asshole for outshining the bride?
Steph, you got that?
Yes. Yes.
You got that? Okay.
I, 27 female, am a black African-American woman. I'm living and working in Germany for a fixed period on secondment. While here, I became quite friendly with a colleague, 60 female, and she invited me to her daughter's wedding. I was excited as I'd never been to a white wedding. I asked if there was... They're very different. White wedding. I asked if there was a dress code / color scheme to adhere to since it wasn't specified on the invite. I was told the code is dress to impress. Okay, bet. Day of the wedding, I understand the assignment. I wear my traditional wear, which is really beautiful and obviously not German. The garment is green, so no problem there. Or so I thought. I get a lot of questions and compliments at the wedding, which I genuinely downplay because it's not my day. My colleague seems colder than usual, but I pay it no mind. Since she's the mother of the bride and could be preoccupied. The bride is downright rude to me, but again, I give her grace. I congratulate her and thank her for including me, and I get a tight response. I keep to the edges of the room as the music isn't really my vibe, and I'm just observing how European weddings work. I leave around 8 after 5 hours and go home before the wedding finishes. Monday, I walk into whispers in the office, people acting strangely and more reserved than usual, and an office friend pulls me aside and fills me in. Bride's mother is fuming. My outfit was too extravagant, over the top, and inappropriate. I drew attention from the bride and commanded the room. I was rude and disrespectful. She told people all about it, apparently. I approached mother of the bride and asked to speak to her, but she says she has nothing to say to me. I asked why she has everything to say to everyone else, but not to me. And she calls me an insolent child. I explain to anyone who scolds me that it was my first white wedding. I specifically asked what to wear and followed the guidelines. Where I'm from, there's no such thing as outshining the bride. Weddings are a fashion show and a chance to wear your best and brightest clothes. They told me this isn't Africa, which was racially coded, and people here have manners. I laughed and told that person to go to hell, so she's telling people I lack remorse for my behavior. I'm wondering if I'm the asshole here, though. And then she gives a quick feedback. Some of y'all are pressed about the white wedding part. It literally means it's the first wedding I've been to where the bride, groom, and wedding party are white. It's really not that deep.
Am I the a-hole for grounding my son because he's so stubborn? My 9-year-old son, Ashton, has a bit of a mouth on him. I get it. He's a 9-year-old boy testing his limits. But I have my limits too. He's been pulling the typical boy pretends to shower and brush his teeth act lately. Is that I don't have kids and I don't have brothers, so is that a typical boy act? Somebody let me know. At first I tried humoring it by jokingly telling him that I know he didn't shower or brush his teeth because I can still smell his hair from the other room. Oh, that's just such a gross image. Okay. Then he'll ask if he can take a bath and I'll say no. Shower, but I'll help you. Eventually he started doing it by himself, then stopped. Now he just flat out lies. I feel like let him take a bath then. I don't know. Last night I asked him if he brushed his teeth. I know he didn't because his toothbrush was dry. He said yes. I said, then why is your toothbrush dry? He said he meant yesterday. So I said, okay, no video games or VR all week for lying to your dad. He cried and was pretty upset. Now his other dad thinks I'm making a mountain out of a molehill and to just let him go to school dirty and get bullied so he'll want a shower. That is a solution, I guess. So, am I the a-hole?
Am I the asshole for abandoning my mother-in-law in a parking lot full of watching people? I, female 26, am a stay-at-home mom, and I pick up my daughter after school. My husband, male 35, takes her to school in the mornings on the way to his work. Mother-in-law got divorced a couple of months ago, and not so subtly complained to my husband that she was lonely. So my husband insisted that we have her over every weekend. Mother-in-law and I don't get along. For example, mother-in-law has always made snide remarks about me being a teenage mom, but I learned to ignore it since my husband asked me to keep the peace. When she began coming over, she would make comments about how dusty the floor was, how much laundry was in the basket, etc., hinting that I should be doing more housework as a stay-at-home mom. Final straw was when she commented about our daughter's academic abilities, saying stuff about how she's below standard academic level and blaming me for not putting in the effort to teach her. After a big argument, my husband finally agreed that only he would visit mother-in-law at her home. Mother-in-law and I haven't spoken to each other since. Well, mother-in-law's catalytic converter got stolen yesterday and hasn't gotten fixed yet. My husband drove her to work this morning and asked me to pick her up. I said no. Mother-in-law works fairly close to our daughter's school, about a 15-minute walk. In the middle of the day, my husband sends me a text saying that he convinced mother-in-law to walk to our daughter's school so I can pick up both of them at the same time. I arrive at my daughter's school and see mother-in-law with my daughter. I walk up to them and tell mother-in-law that she can find a way home, that I'm not going to give her a lift. She started to create a scene, and the other parents and children were starting to stare, so I took my daughter by the hand and drove away. Husband yelled at me when he got home, saying that I embarrassed mother-in-law in front of the other parents and left her stranded when I could have easily have driven her home. It really wouldn't have been much work to drive her home one time, and I'm regretting causing a scene at my daughter's school because her classmates and their parents might have seen it. Am I the asshole? I'm really torn on this one. Really torn, because I get you've kind of set a boundary for your mother-in-law. Like, your comments are too much. You're rude to me. You don't like me. Now you're, talking shit about my child, basically implying she's dumb.
Also, side question, I don't know if I missed this at the beginning, but is the husband, that's his child? Or is it a teen pregnancy from a separate person?
It was not mentioned.
Not that it matters. I was just like...
I mean, there is quite an age gap, so...
That is so true.
If OP was underage, then it's kind of...
Never mind, I forget I asked. Because I was like, if she's judging her for being a teen mom, I was like, was it not your son? But maybe I forgot there was an age gap.
But now I'm really curious, because
if it was your son, that's a whole other thing we have to unpack.
That's problematic in itself. But I mean, I get the boundary, but at the same time, it's one ride, one day.
I don't think I would have left her there. I think I would have just been like, okay.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got home, I would have talked to my husband and be like, I cannot do this.
Don't sign me up for it.
No.
If it happens tomorrow I will leave her there.
Yeah, right. Kind of just like a warning. Like, I will let this go today because I'm not going to cause a scene.
Yeah.
But the scene has been caused. I also don't
He
know,
didn't talk
like,
to me.
the full emotional, like, turmoil that the mother-in-law has placed on her. Like, I don't know if she really is just, like, manipulative and, like, a monster to her. So, I don't know.
You definitely do get that
I feel
vibe.
like it takes a certain level of, like, absolutely saying no to giving you a ride home. It's like, how horrible is she actually, to the point where you're like, I won't even give you a ride, even though you just walk to the school to be given a ride.
Yeah.
It's a little suspicious.
It's a little sus. So we do get into some comments here. Someone did ask, is your husband the biological father?
Oh, perfect.
He is the biological father.
Oh.
I had her when I was 19. I agreed to keep the peace with mother-in-law because my husband always let me know that he was on my side. Obviously, he doesn't see anything wrong with my age.
Okay. I've heard more horrifying things for sure, but
it's not the greatest.
At the end of the day, why are you going to judge your daughter-in-law for having a teen pregnancy when it takes two to tango, and that was your son that created the pregnancy?
Who I would argue is more irresponsible than the 19, 18-year-old.
She's a teenager still.
overall vote on this one was everyone sucks.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
I totally agree. Because I was going to say, like, yeah, you're kind of the asshole for leaving her. Your husband's the asshole for signing you up for it. Just like everyone sucks here.
I didn't know that was an option. I picked C. Everyone does.
Yep. All the above.
Everyone
all
has
assholes.
something going on here that I can't get behind.
So we do have an update. So the whole reason this one resurfaced recently is because on January 23rd of 2024, there was an update from OP. So it's an update 1 year and 2 months later.
I'm ready.
Hi Reddit, sorry this update took so long, but I just signed the last of the divorce papers and wanted to share with this sub.
Okay.
Woo! I took the top comments advice and tried to have a conversation with my ex-husband and his mother, but they both just yelled at me and would not listen to anything I said. My ex-husband even went back on his agreement to not invite her over. Apparently, this was my punishment for disobeying him and embarrassing his mother. Run. Anyone that tries to punish you, immediately run.
No. Okay.
For a few months, I stayed with my best friend on the weekends and she convinced me to divorce him. But because I was a stay-at-home mom, I needed a steady source of income. Early 2023, we started a candle making business on Etsy. It was really rough the first few months, but we began to gain traction and I finally told my ex that I wanted a divorce after I felt financially stable. He said no, but I had already worked everything out with my lawyer. After I sent him the papers, he and his mother began harassing me, and he said that he would agree to the divorce only if I gave up full custody of my daughter.
I'm not sure where you think you get leverage here. Like, come on, Candles. We already got a business. She had a whole plan.
What a badass. Long story short, this ended up in us going to court, and I now have full custody.
I bet.
Good job, mama. My best friend is the real hero of this entire story. She let me stay over for free throughout the proceedings and helped me care for my daughter. With the alimony and the money I made from the candle making business, I officially moved in with my best friend and began paying her rent too. I'm currently saving up to buy a place of my own. My daughter and I are really happy right now, and I can't believe that I didn't see how toxic my ex and his mother were for the 7 years we were married. I hope this is enough drama for the rest of my life, and thanks to all the people in my DMs who showed me how toxic my relationship was.
Oh, I'm so glad that had like a good ending for her.
Same.
And honestly, that being the ending confirms all the suspicions from beforehand of like, do we really know how bad it is with the mother-in-law
Yeah.
and even her husband like not defending her? No, I think we do now.
I think very apparent now. My wife, 38 female, wants me, 39 male, to help get our lesbian couple pregnant. Failed in vitro previously. My wife wants me to get our friend pregnant. Throwaway because content of question. I, 39 male, and my wife, 38, have been together for almost 25 years and married for almost 20. We have a couple we've been friends with since college, 38 female and 35 female, and they're amazing. Godmothers to my second born. They've tried in vitro fertilization. No dice. I was the sperm donor after some convincing 2 times though. Fast forward to 3 years later, and again, they've asked. This time, however, the suggestion is the good old-fashioned way.
No, oh no, please no. Oh God.
Again, all good friends, vacationed with these ladies, would take a bullet for them. I am not shy. However, what they are asking, I'm not sure if I can do it. They, along with my wife, want me to have sex and attempt to impregnate our friend.
Oh my God.
35 female, as they have exhausted all of their savings the first 2 go-arounds. Yes, they could adopt, however, do not want to. The couple of times as the donor, it was the 38 female's eggs in the 35 female. Apologies if the math of it all is off. As I'll be honest, I'm not being exactly sure how all of it works mechanically. My wife does not want to watch. However, 38...
God for that.
Oh no. Oh no,
Oh, wait,
though.
whoa, there's more. Okay.
However, 38 female does want to witness the moment of conception.
My flowers are gasted. No, absolutely not. No, this is no. No.
I believe this to be true. I do not believe either is bisexual. I'm a bit uncomfortable initially, but was warming up to the idea as I absolutely love these women to death. I do not really want her watching, as I find it would be awkward. They've both seen me naked before. Nothing weird, just happenstance. Nor am I shy, so mechanically it could work in theory. Additionally, I do not last forever in bed with my wife. However, I do range to about 8 to 10 minutes if I'm not taking breaks. What if I accidentally make her orgasm? Do I masturbate prior so it only takes a handful of thrusts?
Oh, God.
If I do go through with it and she backs off on not watching, do I just go hang out? I'm probably overthinking all of this. Obviously not a conversation I can have with just anyone. So Reddit, thoughts, ideas, suggestions?
My goodness. Can y'all just get like a turkey baster or something?
Thank you.
Am I wrong for stealing my sister's thunder on her engagement party? My 23 female sister, 25 female, recently got engaged to her fiance, 26 male, after they'd been dating for a year. Their engagement party was basically a dinner with friends and close relatives, and my sister went all out on the food. To her, marriage is a huge deal, and she's had her whole wedding and marriage life planned out since we were kids. I've never felt the same excitement for weddings and kids and such things, even though I do want it at some point. And since I'm a lesbian in a homophobic family, I long ago accepted the Wait, what? I've never felt the same excitement for weddings and kids and such things, even though I do want it at some point. And since I am a lesbian in a homophobic family, I long ago accepted that a big fancy wedding with my father walking me down the aisle isn't part of the plan. This doesn't sadden me much, but my sister, who's the only one in the family who knows about my sexuality, has been convinced that I'm jealous of her since she started dating her fiance. The dinner started out great, but after the main course, my family and relatives started asking about my dating life. It was a pretty harmless question at first, such as, when are you getting a boyfriend and why aren't you dating? I saw that boy hitting on you yesterday. It annoyed me, but my sister seemed even more annoyed. After dessert, when the alcohol started kicking in, the questions got a little out of hand. My mom said, I can't believe your sister got engaged first. You've always been more social. And my grandma commented that I was the more attractive sister. That is mean. My sister obviously got hurt by this, and I caught her crying in the bathroom at one point. I tried to talk to her, but all she said was, Happy, you've made my engagement all about you, and then avoided me for the rest of the party. So this is the part where I may have been the bad guy. After my aunt asked when I would get a boyfriend for the millionth time, and I had my millionth glass of wine, I told her that I'd never get a boyfriend, but when I got a girlfriend, she'd be the first to know. I then stormed out of the apartment, accidentally knocking a glass over, and took a cab home. One of my sister and I's mutual friend who was at the party told me the next day that a wild discussion about what I said to my aunt was held and that the party was cut short. My sister locked herself in her room crying and everyone went home. I have now been blocked by most of my family and relatives. My sister sent me a nasty text about how me coming out at her party stole her thunder, and my mother no longer considers me family. I'm not going to try to make up excuses for my behavior because I definitely could have been a more supporting sister, but I just wanted to know. Am I the asshole?
Am I the arsehole for not telling my boyfriend that I'd had plastic surgery? I've been dating this guy for about 4 months now. When I was 22, I had a nose job because I'd broken my nose twice as a kid and I was left with quite a large bump. Then when I was 23, I had my boobs done, which bumped me up a few cup sizes as well. To be honest, these were lifelong things that I've been insecure about and bullied over, so it was a relief to get them done. So now you've got the context, let's move to the present. I met my boyfriend, we'll call him Steve, through a friend. And up until now, things have been great. Last night, I was sat on the sofa with him just scrolling through social media. And this is when I stumbled upon an old classmate's vacation pictures. In the picture, she's wearing a bikini and she quite obviously has had her boobs done. Now, don't get me wrong, she looked great. But you could definitely tell there was a little something in there. So Steve glances over and he just says, gross. So of course I then asked, what's your deal? And he said that women that get implants or other procedures are a massive turn off to him. He then went on to say how men prefer women that are natural and don't have 2 balloons on their chest. And he just kept saying how insecure it made her look. So I just couldn't help but laugh. So I turned around and said, well, you're turned off by me then. And of course, he got really confused and asked what I meant. So that was when I informed him that I had had procedures done. He kept denying it and saying that I was just joking. That was until I showed him old pictures of me. He then got really, really quiet and left shortly after that. I then got a text from him saying that I should have disclosed this to him on our first date. And that I have led him on. And now he's saying how he needs to reconsider things. It's now the next day and I still haven't heard anything. And I am just so bewildered by the whole situation. So what do you think?
Am I wrong for having house rules for my stepdaughter? So my husband, 42 male, and I, 33 female, have his daughter, 11 female, for a week. I'm fine with it and have zero problem with her being here. Her mother works full-time and so does her brother, and she's too young to stay alone all day. The issue came about today when I laid down basic house rules for her while she's here. I don't think they're unreasonable, but my husband and my stepdaughter thinks they are. Here they are. 1. No electronics after 11 p.m. That means no laptop, no tablet, switch, anything like that. She can have a movie on for bed, but I set the timer and take the remote or she'll stay up all night. Number 2, awaken out of bed by 11 a.m. or she'll sleep all day. Number 3, 3 hours maximum on her tablet each day. Number 4 is she can't stay in her room all day. Number 5 is she has to help clean up after dinner, meaning putting away the dishes. And 6, practice basic hygiene. Am I wrong for having house rules for my stepdaughter? Number 6 is to practice basic hygiene because she's in the part of puberty where she doesn't want to shower or brush her teeth. That's it. That's literally it. But apparently I'm being too harsh because it's summertime. I've also spoke with her mom and she completely agrees with me about the rules. And she said she has the same exact ones at her house, so I'm not sure why I'm being met with so much pushback from my husband and the child. And just for some extra clarity, when I spoke with her mother, my husband was in the room and I had her mother on speaker, so he heard the whole conversation. He initially agreed to help enforce the rules, but changed his stance at the stepdaughter's first tantrum. Also, we've been married for 5.5 years, and these were not set out as spite. They were set for consistency. And again, her mom has the exact same rules set at her house, so I'm just confused. Top comment says, I am confused. These are extremely basic house rules. And they should have came from your husband.
Am I the asshole for not letting my brother and his family stay with me anymore? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I own a nice house in the city that's quite famous for the resorts in the area. I live with my dogs and we have plenty of room. I often let my friends and family stay with me. I work from home, so I have my office in the guest house. I sometimes rent out my house and live in my guest house for months at a time. I paid off my mortgage in 10 years that way. In 2020, right before the lockdown, my brother brought his new family to stay for a week. I didn't have any renters that week. We talked well in advance. Whenever I have guests, not renters, staying in the house, I go in and out of the house as I please. This was an issue for my sister-in-law and her kids. They said I was not to come in without ringing the doorbell and being let in. I asked my brother what the fuck, and he said that his wife and stepkids really like their privacy. No problem. So now the pandemic is in a rearview mirror, and he asked if he could bring his family again. I said no. I said that I like being able to use my property as I wanted, and that if his family wanted privacy there, there's literally hundreds of hotels in my area. He said I was being a dick and punishing his family for their desire for privacy. I said they could come, but if they wanted exclusive use of my house, they would have to rent it. My weekly rate is about $1,500. He said that I was being ridiculous and that he could stay at a hotel for that much money. I said that's what he should do then. I got a call from our parents saying that I just needed to stop being so petty and let him use the house. I told them that I would do so in return if my dogs and I could stay at their house since it's so close to some really nice hikes my dogs would love. They said that my brother's wife would never agree to let someone stay in their house. I said that was a good policy, so I would not be letting them stay with me. I got a message about a last-minute rental for a few days during the week my brother wanted to come, and I took it. Now for sure he can't stay here. My parents and brother are pissed off with me for screwing up his vacation plans, but I don't really care. I will just add that when I go into my house when I have guests, I don't go into the bedrooms or anything. I go into the kitchen or freezer or laundry room. That's it. When I have renters, I wait to do my laundry while my maid service cleans up the house in between bookings. So, am I the asshole for calling my brother's girlfriend Miss Piggy for eating our food after we told her not to? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. So last year, my brother moved in with me and my roommate. When he moved in, his girlfriend started spending a lot of time at our place. This isn't a problem as my roommate's girlfriend comes over here too. Here's the thing though, my brother's girlfriend pretty much eats all of our food. No matter who it is, she will eat it. Me and my roommate have told her multiple times to stop eating the food we buy and only eat the food my brother buys, but she ignores us and eats all our food anyways. We have confronted her and my brother multiple times and told them she needs to stop, but she just says, tee-hee, sorry, but it was so good. And he refuses to say anything about it. We both have tried to talk him into going to her house instead of bringing her over, but he doesn't want to. It's gotten to the point where both of us are considering getting a second fridge to put a lock on. Well, we're both sick of it. Brother's girlfriend is a heavy girl, and weight is a very touchy issue with her. Well, recently, both of us have taken to calling her Miss Piggy when she eats our food. If we ever see her eating our food, or after she has, we confront her and call her it. She hates it and has freaked out each time she hears us refer to her as that. Honestly, though, she still eats our food, so we keep doing it. Well, today when I got home from work, his girlfriend was there eating leftovers I had cooked last night. I told her, wow, I love coming home to see Miss Piggy eating my leftovers that I was looking forward to. Before I started oinking at her, she broke down, crying, and ran out. She has been calling my brother furiously and has refused to come over anymore because I'm an asshole. But am I? Like, we asked her so much to stop and she didn't do that. I'm honestly just lost. We all buy our own food and we have a rule to never touch each other's stuff. She knows this and still does it. So I think she deserved it. So the next day, me and roommate sat down with brother and pretty much told him she's not allowed back here. That morning, Miss Piggy called him and said she forgave me and would be coming over again. The other option we gave him is buying his own fridge while we lock up the other and he foots the electricity bill. He disagreed to both, but because his name is not on the lease, he didn't really have a choice. So now my brother's supposed to hang out at her place. A win-win, right? Well, nope. Last night, I came home to find Miss Piggy hanging out at our house. And guess what she had done? Yup, she'd eaten some of the roommate's food. Well, I decided to be a little bit more respectful this time, so I didn't oink at her. I just told her that the food she had eaten was for humans, not pigs. I then threatened to call animal control on her if she didn't leave. She did not like this and an argument broke out between the three of us. Turns out brother was supporting her this whole time and never planned on carrying out what we all agreed on. They demanded I apologize to her for everything, and I told her people don't need to apologize to farm animals. She stormed out crying again, but this time Kermit followed her and wouldn't even look me in the eye. My brother is staying with her and he's afraid to face the roommate after last night. We're in the process of terminating his sublease with the landlord and I'll be giving him his 30-day notice personally when I visit the barn.
Am I wrong for helping my brother run away from his wedding? So I have two older brothers and this is about the middle one. So my parents divorced when we were very young because of my mum's insane jealousy. She very quickly rebounded with a guy that had 2 kids and had shared custody for a little while. But when my dad got remarried, she went crazy. She called his new wife every horrible name under the sun. And she even tried to claim that he was cheating whilst they were still married. I was always so much closer to my dad and my brothers because my mum was just always so mean to me. Long story short, my stepmom actually passed away from a really bad car accident. So my mum decided she was going to take us on a fun trip to celebrate something, and we have literally never seen our mum happier. However, once we realised what was actually going on, we obviously got upset and started crying. My mum got really angry about this and said only worthless people cry over whores. And needless to say, things got nuclear. So my dad ended up applying for full custody and visitation for her. He always left the line of communication open for us, and he even paid for us to go and see her when she moved away. It was still so bad. As soon as we were 18, we were lowering contact with her straight away. So the last time we saw her was actually at my graduation, and she let everyone who would hear know that we were really ungrateful kids. And her new husband would also call us really nasty names too. And safe to say, we've had no contact ever since. So my brother Sam started dating his now ex about 3 years ago. He had heard all the stories but believed that we were just being dramatic. They had many issues due to her opinions, but eventually she did drop the whole "you need to reconcile with your mother" crusade. So during the wedding planning, there was no sign of things going wrong at all. Lo and behold, who was sitting front and centre? My mum, husband, and 2 kids. I obviously immediately panicked and called my brothers. Sam thought that maybe she'd found out the date and just wanted to crash, so he called his ex to warn her of the potential drama. But she said it's fine because she was the one that had invited them. Sam was like, you need to come and get me, whilst our older brother dealt with things at the church. So we went home and we barricaded ourselves in. His ex and all of her family and friends tried to come and make sense with him. Even my mum's husband came and said, we knew you'd always been worthless. So now all the dust settled, most of Sam's friends are on his side. So is most of my dad's side of the family. His ex's parents keep threatening to sue him for all the money that they paid for the wedding, and he said he would rather pay them back than marry someone that had betrayed him. My family fully supports Sam, but the backlash has been huge. So what do you think?
I'd be an asshole for calling my stepson a loser and telling my wife if I had it my way, he'd be out of the house. Disclaimer, this is not my story. I will list the source in the caption of this video. I, 50 male, have been married to my wife since the fall of 2019. I have 2 boys with my ex-wife, both successful and in their late 20s and married. One has a kid on the way. My wife has one son, Kevin. He's 20 and lives with us. He and my wife moved in with me after we got married. I have the room because I was alone in the house. I have never really seen eye to eye with Kevin. I love sports. My boys excelled at basketball and football in high school and some in college. Kevin is the type that can't be bothered with sports, which is okay, but it means one less thing we can bond over. He's never really seen me as a father figure, and I never really saw him as a son, but I provide for him since he lives with us. Kevin flunked out of college after his first year. He doesn't care. His friend's starting a company after college and promised Kevin a job. Kevin has now been fired and quit from 4 of his jobs. This conversation happened after he was fired again, but I will provide the backstory first. First job, Target. He quit because his boss yelled at him. I asked why. Because Kevin was late. Kevin sarcastically said Target doesn't lose any money for him being 20 minutes late. Second job, Starbucks. They wanted him to work morning shifts. Kevin refuses to wake up before 11 a.m., so he quit. Third job, a local grocery store. He was fired under the suspicion he was stoned, and I believe it. The kid smokes like a chimney. It's not my place to tell him to stop, though. Fourth job, a friend of mine hired him on as a landscaping crew. He was fired because he was a no-call, no-show. I was embarrassed because I knew the guy. Apparently, Kevin had a problem with being on his phone. When the boss, my friend, corrected him, Kevin said he had no right to tell him what to do with his property. After this, I refused to acknowledge Kevin much. Kevin was talking with his mom. His mom is the most amazing woman I've ever met, but she goes soft on Kevin in my opinion. She was doing her usual, "It's okay, sweetie," routine, and my blood boiled. I yelled, "No, it's not okay. He's a fucking loser." I'll admit, I raised my voice. Then I said, "Kevin, you're lucky I love your mother with all my heart, because if it was up to me, you'd be out of this house." My wife snapped at me, and I responded that Kevin is 20 and he needs to start finding a direction in life. He flunked out of college and can't hold a job that 15-year-olds are able to do. I suggest he go spend 2 weeks living with my son and he would whoop his ass into shape. Kevin cried, told me that the worst day of his life was when his mom married me. My wife got very upset with me, which is fair. I flew off the handle. But in my opinion, he has been babied and that's why he acts this way. I think he needed someone to give it to him straight. He even started applying for jobs again after this. So I think my yelling worked. My wife is still angry and wants me to apologize. Update. I did apologize to Kevin for losing my cool, but I reiterated the importance of trying to find something he wants to do. I told him he doesn't need to have his life figured out, but he needs to be working towards something. I'm trying to get my wife on board with either Kevin going to school or finding a job in Korean society.
Am I wrong for reporting a mother and her glitter monster to a flight attendant? I paid extra for an aisle seat in main cabin because of my long legs. It was a packed flight and my roommates were a mother, late 30s-ish, and a young child, maybe 5 or 6. They brought a bunch of arts and crafts to keep the kid busy, things like a glue stick, markers, paper, and craft sticks. It sounds cute, and it was until the glitter came out. The child, or what I like to call her Glitter Godzilla, Gigi, was making a mess, and because she was in the middle seat, the glitter would spill onto my side. If you remember glitter from elementary school, it's so messy if you're trying to attach it to paper, and there's a lot of shake off and most of it doesn't stick. So yeah, the glitter and marks from the glue stick rolling off the gray table was everywhere. My shoes, my backpack, and my jeans. I'm patient and understand kids can be messy, but this felt crazy. So I tried catching the mom's eye, hoping that she'd stepped in, but she just gave me a blank look like, this is how it is. Am I wrong for reporting a mother and her glitter monster to a flight attendant? I'm not confrontational, so when I got up to use the bathroom, I quietly shared the situation with the flight attendant. She promised to be discreet and address it, and when I got back to my seat, the mother was pissed. I don't know what the attendant said, but the mom claimed I was being discriminatory against mothers. And she said she was just trying to keep her child entertained and then started raising her voice, accusing me of being a selfish man with no understanding of children. All this despite the fact that my lower half now looks bedazzled. There were no other available seats, so I had to sit there and hear the lady's verbal attacks, and the flight attendant gave me a look of sympathy. And when we finally landed, the lady gave me a final FU. I do a lot of traveling, and this was the flight from hell. Not to mention, it was pretty embarrassing in the airport. Not that I can blame people taking notice. So, am I wrong? Or should I have just sucked it up and became a human art project?
Am I the arsehole for asking my boyfriend to stop being friends with someone? I know how that sounds, so let me explain. Me and my boyfriend Luca have been going out for about 2 years and everything's been going great. And he has a best friend called Tammy, and I'm not gonna lie, their relationship makes me very uncomfortable. So about 4 years ago, Tammy and Luca actually hooked up. He said it was just a one-time thing and they very quickly realised that they were just better off as friends. This didn't bother me. He was very upfront about it and made it very clear that they were just friends now. He had a life before me and I very much appreciated his honesty. So one day near the beginning of our relationship, Luca looked upset. I asked him what was up and he said that he told Tammy that he was getting serious with someone and she had freaked out. And she said that she thought that at some point they would have got together eventually, even though she had a boyfriend at the time. So at the time, Tammy and Luca weren't anything, they were just having fun with people in between relationships. And this had really upset Luca because he thought they were just friends, so he felt totally blindsided by this information. He then didn't speak to Tammy for 6 months. So 6 months later, Tammy calls and she apologises. Said that she was in a bad place with her then boyfriend and that she missed his friendship. Luca spoke to me about it and I said I was fine with it as long as he was clear that they were just friends. Now I've been with my partner for 2 years and I met Tammy twice. Every time I'd invite something that was a group event, she'd always say no and I didn't think too much of it. However, she then started to make appearances when I wasn't there or I was away for work. So she started to call up Luca and ask if he was alone or if I was busy, and if she'd had a bad day, she would say she just needed time alone with her friend. I finally snapped when I was away last weekend. So Luca had posted a picture of him and Tammy out for drinks. I had invited her to 6 different events this year, but she said she couldn't commit to anything until June 2023 because her schedule was too busy. I said to Luca, it upsets me that you only hang out when I'm not there because it makes me think something's going on. I don't mind them hanging out by themselves, but every time I'm away, Tammy is suddenly free.
Am I wrong for refusing to give my stepson my engagement ring because he never treated me like family? I, 49 female, have been with my husband Bill, 53 male, for the past 20 years. Bill had 2 children from his previous marriage, Jim, 31, and Paige, 27. We also have 1 biological child together, Harry, 16 male. Jim and Paige's mom passed away when they were 9 and 5. I met Bill around 2 years after his former wife had died. When I started building a relationship with the kids, I made it clear that I was not going to replace their mom and would be a trusted figure whom they could approach if they ever needed me. That being said, I still made an effort to treat them like I would my own child. I would take them to school, pick them up, take them to doctor's appointments, make their lunches, ask my parents to get them presents for Christmas and birthdays, etc. Both kids were somewhat hostile towards me at first, which I understand because they lost their mom. However, Paige eventually warmed up to me and saw me as a trusted, confident, and maternal figure. She didn't ask me, nor did I expect her to want me to adopt her, but she still calls me mom, which I appreciate. Jim, on the other hand, continued to be mean and hostile. I have never treated him poorly or antagonized him. Nevertheless, he would make misogynistic statements like, "It's your job as a woman to clean the dishes," when I would ask him to clean his plate, or call me a bitch when my back was turned. My husband told him many times that the way he was treating me was uncalled for and for us to go to family therapy, but he always refused. He eventually moved out, reaching adulthood. He continues to make contact with his father and siblings, but it's minimal between him and me. Even then, he doesn't treat me well. Now, I have an engagement ring that is a family heirloom for several generations. It is passed down from the mother to the oldest child. My husband got the ring from my mom to propose to me. I told all 3 children about this heirloom a few years ago. Anyway, Jim currently has a girlfriend whom he intends to propose to. He called me out of the blue one day and asked if he could have the ring. I told him no. When he asked why, I told him it was because of how he has treated me all these years and how he continues to treat me, and I don't want my family heirloom going to someone who sees me as a vermin. When he asked whom it would go to, I told him it would go to Paige when she gets engaged. When he heard this, he lost his shit and accused me of playing favorites. I eventually hung up when he wouldn't stop insulting me and blocked his number. My husband is on my side, but his maternal relatives have all been blowing up my phone, telling me what an asshole I am. So, am I?